Yeah, it's funny little like. Okay, well, welcome. Happy Thursday it is, right? Last time I checked. I'm wiggling the table. Don't put my feet on that. Really excited about today's conversation. As you guys know, I've sent a number of emails, and I'm excited for everybody to meet this man. This is Mike Valentine, and I've been working with Mike for, almost a year at this point. Met Mike, as you guys heard in the story, in a fairly interesting and accidental way, one might say a fateful way. And it's been great to get to know him and work with him. And the purpose today is really to introduce him to you, to all of you, and let him share some of the stuff that's in his noggin there. So we're going to start out. The title of the conversation today is, "What does it mean to live a life on purpose?" And I think that'd be a good first question for us. What does it mean? We say living a life on purpose, and why does it even matter? Why would one give a rat's ass about living a life on purpose?
Well, it's interesting. It's a broad question, right? That's like asking, what is the universe made of, or why does metal stick together?
Yeah.
So, but what does it mean to live on purpose? To start with, either deliberately and consciously we're living on purpose, or we're doing it unconsciously.
Living life.
We're fulfilling some sort of purpose in our life.
Right.
And whether or not you're doing it consciously or unconsciously is really the question. And if you're doing it unconsciously, what are your unconscious purposes for living? And if you're doing it consciously, what would that purpose be? So what it means to live on purpose is to order your life around some sovereign guiding thrust. And then to discover what is in the way of the capacity to live and fulfill that purpose, and to withdraw or divest your energy from that. So I would say every person has a gift to give, a purpose to live, and a vision to build.
Yeah.
Either they're going to do that or they're not. Most people aren't. And for those who are, the opportunity is to discover that, and then live in service of it. So,
one of the things that I shared in the emails promoting this was the statement that you can walk up to anybody and say, "Hey, do you know what the word purpose means?" And they'll say, "Oh yeah, that's what," they'll give you some language, usually a pretty protracted definition. And if you say, "What's your purpose?" right, you get a lot of gobbledygook, right? A lot of stuff. Yeah. I want to be happy, or I want to make the world a better place, or is that not purpose?
That's definitely it can definitely be a purpose, but the generality of it and the high level concept of it doesn't usually bleed into practical day-to-day living. Some 19 years ago, I was in a business conversation, and we figured out something we could do together. We thought, well, that would be great, and out of my mouth came, "That's great. That's perfectly aligned with my purpose." And the man I was meeting with is a man I have great respect for. He's still a friend of mine. He looked at me quite frankly and he said, "What is your purpose?"
Called you out.
And I couldn't say it.
Interesting.
My entire life I had a sense of purpose, something that was guiding me, something inside of me, and I want to say that very clearly, a sense of purpose, but I never brought it to language.
Okay. So really what you're talking about is the difference between kind of an unformed, nebulous concept and the ability to say, my purpose is blank, and make it tangible and make it clear.
Dial it in. Okay. Make it precise. Okay. So that if you're interacting with an angry child, you can get your hands around that purpose. If you're driving in traffic, if you're late for meetings, when you're early for meetings, when you're preparing for the board meeting, that purpose guiding you toward.
So wouldn't some argue, or at least challenge that, and say that, well, if our purpose is our purpose, right, it's already there. Yep. And why wouldn't it just be something that's sort of integrated into our being already? Why do we need to make a big deal out of it? What is living on purpose? Why does that matter? Right? Versus just, hey, I live on purpose. I can't describe it very well, but it's like love. We all know what that is. Right?
Right. So there's three parts to your question. One is, isn't it integrated and already there?
Yeah.
The answer is absolutely. It is integrated and already there. However, if you have a veil over the view out the window, you can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
So fear casts a veil.
Yeah.
One of the challenges for people in discovering or actually locking onto a purpose is the ego's cry back, the ego's revenge to say, who are you to live a life of purpose?
Yeah.
Who are you
Yeah.
to have something as sovereign or powerful as a purpose to order your life from?
Yeah. One of the things that has been really evident to me working with you is initially when we did the purpose work and when you helped me define my purpose, it was really there all along. I never put words around it.
There.
And it's almost, the way I think about it is, you're driving along and purpose has always been in the rearview mirror, right? You look out the rearview, you can definitely see it's been there all along. I was like, wow, everything I've done is aligned to this. The fundamental difference between that and purpose being something that is tangible and in front of me is I feel like it creates the pull, right? If purpose is in front, it's like creating a slipstream almost. I don't know if there's a better way to describe it, but for me it feels like it pulls everything else I'm doing along and gives me an entirely different sense of energy, even about doing things.
You're either led by purpose or driven by fear.
Yeah, yeah.
It's that simple. And so until you can find the handle on, bring into this moment, and the power of purpose is really about living in this moment. And true that you look back and you look forward from this place.
Yeah.
But all of the perennial wisdom suggests that the power is now. It's here,
right,
in this moment. Yet almost all of the self-help, professional development, MBA programs, spiritual guidance, recovery stuff, religions are about getting somewhere else.
Yeah.
To heaven, to the boardroom. So something's retarded about this deal. If the power's now and we're engaged in processes to get somewhere else, there's a disconnect. So unless you can really, if you don't know and can't see and sink into in this moment your purpose, then it's of no use to you. Yeah. In this moment, and this is the moment we have.
Well, since you brought it up, I want to just raise that question, right? You talk about living based on towards your purpose or being driven by fear. What do you mean driven by fear?
Well, if you could imagine being pushed, something pushing you through life, right?
Right.
Or being led.
Yeah.
Led along in life.
Yeah.
I would define fear as doubt of purpose or doubt of love. False events appearing real.
Yeah.
So fear lives in the conditioned mind. So the old conditions, the past, fear of what we are afraid will happen, fear of some illusion, fear of running out of money, fear of death, fear of spiders, fear of snakes, fear of grumpy women, fear of controlling men, fear of the kids killing themselves on their mini bike, right? Fear. The laws of fear that the world made don't actually govern the world.
I get it. Yeah, the concept of, I know in most of my life, things that I did were so that I wouldn't blank. I work hard so I won't run out of money, so I won't be a failure, etc. And the fundamental difference is so that I won't versus in order to, or so that I can. And that for me, that's just what translates into more, I say energy, but really for me, it's reduced friction. I really think about it like purpose is there, and I'm like riding my bike behind a tractor trailer, and there's no headwind, right? I'm being sucked in behind the thing and going 50 miles an hour.
It's there. Most of the people that I work with, we look to discover the default operating system of the ego, made up of beliefs, habits, and results in the conditioned mind. And with some of the most enlightened people I've worked with, we usually discover that once the ego thought system is there, made of fear, fear-based beliefs, fear-based habits, and designed to keep you in guilt, shame, blame, disappointment, loneliness.
Yeah.
Once that's exposed, there's a point in most of the work I do privately and with executives where I say, how much is that operating system running your life? Most say upwards of 90%.
Mm-hmm.
The more enlightened ones will say between 65 and 75%.
Yeah.
That's good news. The good news is there's a 75% pickup in our game.
Yeah, right. There's lots.
All
of
you have to
extra.
do is see it, divest from that system, invest in the power of purpose, and you're off and running.
Yeah, you don't have the governor or the regulator cutting your power.
Right.
So I got a question for you, and it may be something you think about, and then I'll ask a second question. I'll ask you one question, you can think about it or answer it, and there's two. So the first question is, can you share an example, one of a profound example, a really fun example of working with somebody, helping them to discover their purpose, and how that translated to success or results in their life, business, personal, whatever. While you're thinking about that, I titled this little live chat thing here, Meet My Coach. And it's sort of funny because I always share with folks, oh, I was talking to my coach or working with my coach. And it's kind of weird because they go, oh, life coach? I'm like, well, no, it's not really a life coach. What is it? I mean, how do I describe what you do? How do I describe our relationship? That would be helpful for me, certainly, because I know it's been a year. I should know this.
There's a coaching element. There's without getting too woo-woo, there's a healing element. But healing is really looking at fear and bringing it to light.
Mm-hmm.
So healing happens when fear is exposed. So there's a healing element. There's a coaching element.
When you say healing, what do you mean healing? Physical, mental?
Whole healing of the creative self,
Mm-hmm.
healing of the essential self.
Mm-hmm.
Christians would call it the Christ self.
Mm-hmm.
But really, it's not healing. It's actually returning to your truth. It's returning to your creative self.
Yeah.
I use essential self.
Yeah.
So that there's that component. But really what my mastery is I'm a life purpose guide.
Okay,
If you were heading... What's that?
I'm going to write that down, a life purpose guide.
If you were headed to Oregon, generally from wherever you are in the country, you
Yeah.
could find it by watching the sun as it goes west.
Yep.
So people who are going to live on purpose are going to live on purpose. They don't need me, you, anyone else. Their purpose will lead them to itself, and then it will guide them from there. But if they were to engage someone to get to Oregon who's actually traveled to Oregon, they might be able to enjoy, avoid some canyons.
Enjoy the scenery a little bit.
Yes, go where the bridges are and not go where the bridges are out and that sort of thing. So I've scouted the turf.
Yeah,
And,
I like that.
And I guide. I'm a guide.
I've been calling you my Sherpa.
Yeah.
Kind of like my life Sherpa. He doesn't carry things for me, but I don't know, we can work on that.
Sometimes.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, actually, that is true. So you got an example?
I have the first one that came to mind is a recent work with an executive who is the CEO of a company he founded and sold, and now the new owners want to sell that company. And in his ego thought system, his primary belief is that he's not good enough.
Despite having built a company and sold it.
He's got the right wife. She runs marathons. He's adopted 2 Chinese children and brought them over from China.
Probably has a nice house.
I'm sure they're beautiful girls. He has a nice house here in the Rockies. I'm certain his comp plan's upwards of $750,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
When he sold the company, he has enough money to never work again. He's about 43. And he said, I'm pointing towards a couch that he sat on, and he was in the process of negotiating his next leg of the CEO of the company he founded and sold. And he was upset. He didn't want to run it anymore. He explained that his wife believed that he was worth twice what they were offering him, and that he thought he could have at least 1.5 times what they were offering. Mm-hmm. And I said to him, why don't you, let's look at your ego thought system and see what part of that would say you're not worth twice what they're offering. He looked at that. And then, so he was willing to settle. And he had all the power at the negotiating table. He's the next guy to sell. They've got to know he's going to stay on.
Yeah.
And
he has all the leverage in the world.
Long story short, I said, I think you should ask for what your wife said.
Yeah.
2 times. At least she'll be happy. And when you leave this company, you're going to go home to hang out with her.
Yeah, it would be nice to have her feel like you got.
So take her endorsement and tell her you took her coaching, and
Yeah.
Asked for twice.
That's a double win right there if he gets it.
He got 1 3/4.
There you go.
Which, probably equates to several million. It's going to sell for $250 million.
Yeah, it's amazing. I read a quote a long time ago, very simple. It was, you will never outperform your aspirations.
Right.
Yet, that's what we do, is we fail to aspire.
Right.
And what I hear you saying is that's a direct correlation between the size of our dreams and,
Well, and more importantly, he met with equity investors right after that and saw that he could completely reshape the company to take himself from an operating CEO to a visionary CEO, looking at the world, and he was tired of looking at the company. So now he can look at the world.
So he got money, he got relationship satisfaction, and he got to do the job he actually wants to do.
Looked like it.
That's kind of a triple win. That's pretty good.
And he's smiling more.
Well, yeah. It's amazing to me how many very, very successful, powerful, accomplished folks I come across in my work that are being driven by their fear, right? They still wake up every day saying, I don't want to be back there where I was. I mean, they're running away from that. They're not moving towards something really powerful. And do you have another example, or you want to move on to some other stuff?
I don't have one right.
Okay, cool. I'll make a quick note. You guys, if you're logged in to the live stream, you can actually send comments. If you have questions, type them in and I'll read them. I'm looking on the iPad here so I can see what's going on. But yeah, if you got questions for Mike, please type them in, or just say hi so I can at least know you're there and that we're not just talking to a computer screen. That'd be weird.
It is weird.
Why is it? It is, isn't it? Well, at least we're not. I took off the reflection of us because I can't watch myself when I'm talking.
We're looking at the green dot.
Yeah.
We met over a red dot. Now we're staring at a green dot.
I like
together.
that. Red dot, green dot. So I'll ask two questions. You can take them any way you want. Why is it so difficult for people to discover their purpose? And originally I said find, and you coached me to discover. So
yes.
We talk about that. And why is it so difficult to explain the purpose in simple terms? So why is it so hard for people to discover it?
Why is it so hard to discover it? In the beginning of my work with people about discovering purpose, the question would say, where do I get one? Where do I get it?
Right,
where is this purpose, right?
Right.
Where do I look? How do I find it? What would it look like? How would I know I've got it? And I would say, well, I'm not sure. Perhaps you should steal mine, make one up, ask Jesus, talk to Buddha, stare at a star, rub a tree, but get one.
Interesting.
So from where most people are, their purpose is to prove they're not good enough, they're not lovable, they're not wanted, and they've got some of the twistedest.
So let's talk about that for
strategies.
A second, because that's a very important thing that you talk about, right? And we kind of talk about it glibly, and I just say, oh yeah, absolutely. But just make the statement: most people believe they're not wanted, not lovable, and not good enough. That's pretty stiff medicine to accept that.
It is stiff medicine, and people who aren't ready will say, no way.
Yeah.
Am I proving that I'm not good enough, not wanted, and
I'm
not
happy.
lovable?
Everything's great.
Mm-hmm. Honest people will say, yeah, I have those thoughts.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe that at times. Yes, I act consistent with that.
Yeah.
That's the root of the ego.
Yeah.
The root of the ego belief system is I'm not good enough, I'm not wanted, and I'm not lovable. There's better than here. That's better than this. They have something I don't. When I get there, I get that, or get connected with them, I'll finally have arrived.
Yeah.
So
then I'll be ready.
The purpose of the ego is to prove that fear is real. What's essential, what's powerful, what's purposeful is not here. It's elsewhere.
Right.
So
in the future, or another location, or another.
In the future, it was in the past. It was in that beautiful way of making love by the beach. It was in that margarita. It was in that victory at the conference room. It was in that party in the past, or it's going to be when I finally get to Maui.
Yeah.
That day that I finish the house and retire.
Yep.
Later.
Right.
Right. And
someday.
One day, someday, and later never comes.
Yeah.
So we're spun up, most of us, spending our time trying to make money so that we can save money, buy time, and do what's important later.
Right. Someday I'll get there.
Someday I'll get there.
So I think I sidetracked you. We were talking about why is it so difficult to find it, discover it, and why is it so hard to explain it simply?
Right. Yeah, you went off on the ego part. Can you remember the original question?
So why is it difficult to, what makes it so difficult for individuals to discover their own purpose, right? Even if they say, I really want to live on purpose, and they take this little conversation seriously. I want to go write down my purpose. Chances of them sitting down and getting right to it are low, right? Why is it so hard as a self-exploration exercise just to do that? And really, why does it even matter, right? Why, not why does it matter, why is it difficult to explain simply, right? Because even when they do, they come up with these elaborate mission statements or, pithy statements. So why is it hard to figure it out, and why is it hard to say it simply? Why is it hard for people to do that? Thank
you. The time you took to reframe the question gave me the chance to formulate the answer I'd like to give. The most reliable way to discover your purpose is to look under your darkest cloud of grief, because that's where it was buried. Where we sold out on what we love, what we want, what we desire, what we believe is powerful and potential in life, where we were abused as a child, where we were brokenhearted by our first love, where we failed 7th grade, where we went for everything we had everything we wanted, gave everything we had to give, and failed. So it's underneath the deepest heartbreak. Now, the reason it's so hard to discover is because most people don't want to go back through that. And that's where it lay like a shining treasure. Where we gave up on ourselves, where we gave up on our potential, where we gave up on our power, where we believed that anything besides me is going to be better.
So are you really suggesting or saying that purpose was there, it was known at some point as a child or as a young adult, and then it kind of got pushed over with landfill?
I think it was always known by some part of ourself. Some part of ourself knows a sense of purpose and can bring it forward in a sense. And yes, what I'm saying is it got layered over. And then, something happened.
Calloused.
Yeah, it's callous. Something happened, and I began to wonder, am I good enough? One of those somethings for me was I scored 5 touchdowns in a football game. And my dad beat my ass.
That's for you personally?
Yeah, for me personally.
Well, you should have scored 6.
Exactly. And, well, it wasn't about, we scored enough to win. But late in the game, I got sacked in the backfield, in the mud in Texas. And my dad grabbed me by the face mask. He showed me the dirt on my butt and said, "Don't you ever let this happen again. You're better than this."
Wow.
And I decided I'm not good enough. 5 touchdowns will never be enough. So I don't know that I can score 7. But I better figure something out, because I'm not good enough, and no matter what I do, it will never be good enough.
Interesting.
And in that moment, it wasn't good enough for him, and I buried it. What I missed was the cake, pizza, and ice cream that the other kids have. I never celebrated the victory and the win. So, right there, I could find it. I decided after a month on a paper route, when I didn't collect the money, I decided that my life was set to work hard, deliver great service, and not get compensated for that, because I failed to collect the money. And when I went home, my dad was upset.
Interesting.
So
we had a question come in, and by the way, if you guys have questions, you can type in here. I'm reading this stuff. So it says, going back to the example of the CEO, what did you do specifically? That's a good question. Hi, Robert. What did you do specifically to help the CEO get to where he needed to be? Can you go into any details about the conversation, or what got him from, I mean, frankly, $1 million to 174, 2 million, right?
Do you have your red card?
I don't. I have it in my head, but I haven't. I got to go over there. So.
Okay, I can go into detail. I was asking if we had a prop for that. The CEO had spent a day with me in the exposing of his default operating system, his ego thought system, and his lead belief in his ego was, I'm not good enough. So he ends up with a card where on one side is the ego thought system, and on the other side is his gift, his purpose, and his vision. And when he was sharing with me the nervousness about negotiating, and he was scared that if he reapproached the CFO and the chairman ask for more money, they're going to say, you don't care about our people, you don't care about our business, and he's built this business. And that essentially they're going to say in business speak, you're not good enough. You don't care about us. And when I showed him that, it was an epiphany for him. It was an operating belief that he didn't know was operating in this situation. And then we looked at the other side and said, if you're here to give this gift, live this purpose, and build this vision, how then would you approach the situation? And then included the questions about his wife and his position and what their need for him and the power that he had at the negotiating table. But really the turning point was when he saw that his old ego thought system, most people build a company to prove they're good enough.
Yeah.
Or they're lovable or they're wanted. And they use the company to answer that question. Then some people run bankrupt of their passion because they build a successful company. They put enough money in the bank. This guy had done that. He had built the company, married the woman, got the kids, sold the company, taken it to the next level.
Yeah.
And he's empty on the inside because it never proved.
Well, because everything for him was this stuff, right? It was, and now the company's gone.
Yeah, and I would say that, I mean, very simply said that his purpose was to make money, and here he was looking at money again, and he could have all he wanted, or he could have quite a bit more than he thought.
Yeah.
So, I want to know if that answered Robert's question.
Yeah, I think it did, and Robert, you can chime in if it didn't. I got another question, but
good question. Thank you.
One of the things I was going to say was, in many respects, just being able to have that conversation, right? If I'm a CEO selling, I'm supposed to know everything. I'm certainly not supposed to be shy and nervous about asking for money, right? Who of anybody, you can't go tell your wife, gosh, I'm really scared about the negotiation, because she'll probably just call you an idiot, right? You can't call your business buddies because you'll look bad.
Right.
Your therapist isn't going to get it, right? Because they don't understand business and how that works. It's like just to be able to have an honest conversation and express that vulnerability of, in this moment, in this situation, I have fear about. Got a question from John. I think it's a good one here. How do we overcome the ego of not being good enough without swinging too far in the other direction? Or a better way to say it, as he said, is what's the difference? What's the distinction between self-confidence and being egotistical, as people think about it? What's the line, right?
Right. Ask the first part of the question first. I want to answer both parts.
How do we overcome the ego of not being good enough without? I think he's asking in sort of a strange way, but I think what he's saying
that's a great question.
Yeah, okay.
No, I get it. So
that's good.
So there's this place on purpose, and as it's hard to put into language, but as I put it into language, most people who are on this call, I'm going to assert by virtue of being on a call about living on purpose, they'll have a sense of what I'm talking about. I'm going to call it a place on a beam. As a young man in Texas, my career started as a union iron worker. I hung iron. I went 56 floors. We weren't tied to anything, so the only
none of those safety harnesses.
No safety harnesses. So the only thing between me and the dirt on the earth, 56 floors below, was air.
Yeah.
And gravity pulling that way.
Yeah.
So fear can't walk that beam. And the only thing you need to do on that beam is land the next step. If you don't land step number one, step number two doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I didn't know, but I was learning something about living on purpose. There's this place on the beam that is your purpose. To the question that John's asking, you start being oriented around, I'm not good enough, right? I was 12 years old on the football team. The incident I shared proved I'm not good enough and I never will be. So by 15, I would say I was on the right side of the beam. I swing hard to the left side of the beam. I so too am good enough. Look how many touchdowns I can put down. I can hang any iron in any town. I can kick anybody's ass in any bar. I'm good enough. So that's the swing.
Yeah.
Now listen, I'm not good enough. I so too am good enough. The whole thing still orbits around being good enough or not being good enough. So that the best answer I can give you in a short form is, that's a stupid freaking question. We can never answer that question. It can never be resolved. The woman will decide if we're good enough to sleep with her tonight or not, but that's just a temporary thing. We will decide for ourselves if that was good enough or not good enough relative to our goals.
Yeah.
But the sovereign question of am I good enough, am I wanted, or am I lovable is a stupid question. So to realize that
That's unanswerable.
it's totally I'm judging the question.
Okay, there you go.
It's unanswerable. It's totally unanswerable.
Yeah.
It's a riddle you can't solve.
Yeah.
How will we ever prove that? Where's the board of you're good enough?
Where's the good enough meter? Where's
sanction
the
that?
old good enough meter? Yeah.
So once purpose is known, did I do my best to give my gift and live my purpose and build my vision today? And if I say yes, I did the best I could in this situation, knowing I can learn, that's good enough. So purpose resolves that whole question. You just shift out of the field of whether I'm good enough or whether I'm not, proving I am, afraid I'm not, proving that making sure no one finds out I believe I'm not. That whole thing starts to unravel and dissolve into the magnification of living purposefully.
Yeah. The way I paraphrase that is, living on purpose is not answering the other questions, but it makes it irrelevant. Right?
The question's totally moot.
It just disappears.
Totally moot. So how do I express my purpose right here, right now?
Yeah.
That's a different question than am I good enough or is somebody going to find out I'm not?
Well, so here's a question for you, because use the analogy of the beam, and I love that you've shared that with me before. And if the beam, walking the beam, is living on purpose, is it really as tenuous as that beam? Is it that thin and narrow, and there's so much risk of falling, or is it solid? Right? Does the beam?
It's not the risk of falling. There's no risk of falling.
Okay.
I was petrified the first time I went to the 19th floor.
Yeah.
And I could describe to you the gloves, the clouds, and my imprints in the choker that I was holding on to when it was time to let go and walk a 4-inch beam. Yeah. And I looked down, and what was 4 inches when I was afraid looked like it was 24 inches. Yeah. When fear dissolves, it's the phenomena that people talk about. The baseball when they hit the grand slam was that big. The basketball goal looked that wide. That's the way purpose is. There's no risk of losing. I mean, if I lived on purpose today, I go to sleep tonight with no regrets, and I can always get back on purpose.
But like the beam, you fall off. Right?
I do.
You do fall off.
I still do. Yeah.
What is your purpose? What's Mike Valentine's purpose?
I had it written over here to your left yesterday and erased it, but
hopefully you remember it.
I think I can probably remember my purpose. It's interesting. My first cut of purpose was to live constructively and help others do that too. Okay. That makes sense for a guy that used to hang iron.
Yeah. So it sounds very simplistic in hindsight, right?
Very simple. Yeah. And I can tell you after, I know well over 1,500 edits, probably thousands of edits, I still say the same thing when I express my purpose. For some reason, living constructively and helping other people do the same inspired me. It was enough. Yeah. And now I say that my purpose is to trust, love, and serve love on purpose.
To trust, love, and serve love on purpose. Mm-hmm.
I don't think you've ever asked me that.
No, I haven't. That's funny. I see the cards everywhere, and I see your different permutations of it, but I've never actually asked. Yeah,
and I'll reframe and rephrase that just a little bit, probably tomorrow morning.
That's awesome.
But it's the inquiry, the question. What's my purpose here? What's my purpose here?
Well, yeah, and it's
and I would say this as powerfully as the form of statement of purpose. Yeah. Is the brutal reality and truth that's absolute freedom is you can choose to live purposefully. Yeah. I have the choice to live fearfully or purposefully.
Yeah. Well, and you have the choice at any time to recast your purpose.
Yes. And I can choose a new one.
Yeah. Yeah. Another good question. I'm going to read this in a second. If you guys have questions, I think you have to be logged in or something like that, but shoot a question over here. We'd love to have those. Much rather do questions than the boring things I came up with. So yeah, keep throwing things this way. A little bit later, towards the end, I am going to share with you that Mike has generously agreed to put on a bit of a Discover Your Purpose Masterclass. Right. So to me, this is really tip of the iceberg, and my hope is people will come away with a little different concept of this magical thing called purpose. And gosh, how do I get one of those? And where can I find mine? And blah blah blah. And Mike does obviously a whole program, and he and I have been working together pretty intensely for a year, but as we thought about it, what we wanted to come up with was a way that we could basically take folks from this environment and show you another step in the process, even without coming and dedicating your bank account and lots of time to Mike. So we're going to run a 3-session. Mike's going to run it. I'm going to sit here and host, but starting in November, it'll be three sessions. They'll be recorded, an hour each with some homework assignments, And the Masterclass, as we're calling it, is going to be a Discover Your Purpose Masterclass. So in 3 short sessions over the course of 3 weeks, you're going to create your purpose or refine it or what have you, at least to know it. So here's a question from a good friend of mine. What techniques do you help people use to displace fear? I have a pretty strong sense of purpose and I keep falling back on fear. So before you answer, I'm going to ask the question asker to send me your purpose. Type your purpose up because I'm going to have Mike ask this, and I'm going to ask Mike what he thinks about your purpose statement. So,
well, and I would add to that, if you'll share with me the explicit fear that you keep falling back into and your purpose, we'll work with a real-time thing rather than being conceptual about it.
I love it. So let's do that. We're going to do like live.
And we can start with the concept.
Live coaching here. So 2 things. Type your purpose and what fear shows up for you, right? Is it kind of an abstract fear? Is it fear of what have you? So while you're sending that in, we'll put that on hold. Did we answer why is it difficult to explain on our purpose simply?
No.
Okay. Good. I didn't think so.
Why is it difficult to explain our purpose simply? In the belief system of the ego, or the belief system that we're not good enough, not wanted, or not lovable, there's no way that we would bring a purpose to language. So if you take the hypotheses, and I'll use mine.
Yeah.
There's what we learn from life, there's what people meant to teach us in life, and there's what we retain of what we learn from life. Here's what I knew by the time I was 14. I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm unwanted. I deserve to be beaten, rejected, abandoned, betrayed, raped, and thrown to the trash.
Deserve to be.
I deserve to be. That's what I had learned by the time I was 14. Some rough shit had happened.
Yeah.
And so if you take the hypotheses, I'm not good enough, and then add that tail end on it, whatever, each individual ego system has, then inside that thought system you would never bring a purpose to language, because the beginning of purpose, the beginning of power, the beginning of love is the end of the ego.
Yep.
So the system that runs in default and we operate within would never bring a purpose into itself. So you have to actually tap into the sense of purpose and then bring language to it. But you have to get to a place where you have a sense of purpose. The best way to get there is this question is going to help us with that if we can get the real time on it. But most of us believe that there's no reason to look at, admit, and expose fear. In fact, in our society, we think that causes more of it. And I'm going to counter that in an absolute way. The more you're willing to look at fear, the more you see beyond it. And it's an insane mind that's run with fear, self-doubt, and insecurity. It takes the sane mind to say, that's fear. I'm afraid, I'm worried, I feel insecure. Well, the minute you do that, you're in your creative mind. And from that place, you can start to see that purpose that's in you but not of you. It's not of that conditioned mind. So why is it difficult? Because the ego doesn't want to.
So where I kind of chunk that down is essentially the part of our self that is highly motivated to keep us from living on purpose, the ego, fear, sabotages, I find. It puts direct cover in front of it and hides it from us.
In incredibly brilliant ways, and brilliant and complex ways. So the three so the best way to bring your purpose to language is to expose your fear.
Yeah.
Hunt it out, bring it to the light, share it with someone who's not going to use it against you later. In the process, you're actually in your purpose, and then look to see if you can see it. Fear traffics or spreads in 3 mechanisms. It's denial, projection, and confusion. So confusion, projection, and denial, I would deny I have a purpose. I would see other people as purposeful, and I would stay confused about my purpose. And that's fear blocking the realization and my discovery of purpose.
And one of the denial mechanisms might be, all right, I got that figured out. I'm already living on purpose.
It might be, yeah.
So that's a good segue. So actually, not only Gerald, but another person has typed in their purpose that they believe they are living, and the fear that gets in the way. So we're going to go through those, and if you want to do that, type it in here, and we'll rock and roll. It's kind of a fun idea. Yeah. So go back to the first one. My purpose is to inspire others. My fear manifests itself with inaction towards that purpose. In other words, I slide back into everything being okay and not asking questions myself or those around me. It seems like that's the effect of the fear. That's not the fear.
Right.
But you can react to that. We can do another one. So
no, let's stay with that one for now.
Fantastic.
So
the
purpose is to inspire others.
Yep.
First of all, I want to offer something that may completely usurp the question about fear. I would ask you if you'd be willing to add your purpose is to inspire myself and others. Because you're running out of inspiration when you're afraid. So
you have to inspire yourself.
You have to inspire, but if our society is warped on serving others.
Yeah.
And it's a sense of servitude, and it's self-compromising. I'll use another example. We think that it's selfish to spend time working out, energizing our body, staying healthy, eating healthy. How selfish of me I could be answering emails, making more money, helping the wife. She could be helping the husband, working, doing the kids' homework. How selfish of me. Then we feel guilty for having been selfish. It's selfish to not take care of yourself.
Yeah.
It's responsible to take care of yourself. So in a purpose where, and I'm way down in the fine grain here, but I would say until your gift is known, which will give you the fountain of youth, a wealth of energy, just add to your purpose to inspire myself and others and keep it in that order. And if you're afraid, how do you use inspiring myself to walk through the fear?
Interesting.
And so you go into inaction. That's the result of the fear. I'm not sure what the fear is yet. Maybe you'll come back with it.
Yeah. So if you want to throw in there what the fear is,
I'm afraid of blank happening.
Yeah.
I'm afraid people will be mad at me. I'm afraid people will think I'm an arrogant, egotistical, something not worthy of inspiring them. I'm afraid of finish that sentence. I'm afraid of particularly what comes to mind. Well,
I will share that. One of the greatest moments of terror is when a client says, "Yeah, great, we'd love to work with you and pay you a lot of money." Yeah. Fear kicks in. Well, wait a minute, I just got them to do what? What if I can't do it? What if I screw up? What if I ruin their business? What if I've taken their money? What does that mean? It's just it's this whole head trash thing. James, threw his out there. He wrote the word restylement. I don't know if that's a real word, but maybe it is. Help people achieve their goals and accomplish their dreams. Fear, I mess up, I get it wrong.
Instylement?
He said restylement.
Restylement.
Right? We'll just say his is.
It's okay to make up words with this, by the way.
Yeah,
that's fine.
It might just be an autocorrect sort of situation, but let's just say his purpose is help people achieve their goals and accomplish their dreams. The fear is I'm going to mess it up. I'm going to get it wrong.
And I'm afraid I'll mess it up and get it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have a butt. Who is this? James.
James,
you have a butt. You need a butt reduction. But I'm going to mess it up
James
and get it wrong.
James has kind of a flat butt. I've seen James before, so he's not going to.
But I'm going to mess it up and get it wrong.
Yeah.
And you need to follow that trail of what that butt is down to its source to say, so what? In fact, you are going to mess it up and get it wrong. Part of the problem is with the language of your purpose. It's moving around their goals, inspire people, that kind of thing. You want to find something that lives more in spirit. To inspire myself and others is an incredible purpose. I just heard a commercial about Denver University, and their purpose is to transform passion into purpose. So, and James, the idea that you can get it wrong is the thought system of the ego. The purpose of the ego is to prove that fear is real. Your purpose, what's essential and powerful is not here, and the way it does it is by judging. So there's no right way to do it. There's just what fulfills your purpose and inspires you to live purposefully.
Interesting. Got another one from John. My purpose is to encourage others to think. My fear is rejection. This fear comes from much of you just said and was taught by the time you were 14. So my purpose is to encourage others to think. My fear is rejection.
To encourage.
Others to think.
To encourage others to think. You know, in all of these, I would say that you guys really would be powerful if you'd be willing to add to encourage myself and others to think.
Interesting, yeah.
It gives in my model, the gift, purpose, and vision, a three-legged stool. The gift is the most abstract and the most powerful.
Yeah.
Because it's the fuel.
Yeah.
The purpose is your thrust. So to encourage myself and others to think.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid of being rejected. You will be rejected.
Yep. Especially if you're in sales.
Yeah, you'll be rejected at times. So, and I would challenge you back to put on the cloak of your purpose and say, even when I face the inevitable rejection from others, I am here to encourage myself and others to think. Until that first part dissolves. It will dissolve into your purpose.
Yeah. So James said, thanks for the answer, for the response. He said, dead on. My ego is the stone in my way. Thank you. So my gift, I'm here to give the gift of curiosity, the gifts of curiosity, joy, and peace. One of the most powerful things that I got from you was remembering that I'm here to give that gift to myself and others, right?
To yourself first and foremost.
Yeah, you know, so I think about a gift and our being here to have a gift to give to others as I got to go do this all the time, and then I'm sitting there racked with fear or unhappy or anxious or tense, and I say, wait a minute, I got to give myself the gift right now. I got to give myself the gift of joy and peace. And it sounds kind of silly, but the simple act of saying, all right, Townsend, I'm going to give you a little present right now. Here you go. And saying it, I'm giving myself in this moment the gift of joy and peace. Cool. I gave it to myself, and then I get it, and then I have more peace. So it's pretty cool.
How are we on time?
Oh, we're at 47 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to take what you just shared and let me do something.
Yeah, please.
So if you heard Townsend say his gift includes curiosity, and all of you here on this webinar today are here as a result of Townsend's gift of curiosity.
Yes.
Even though he may or may not have known that was his gift at the time, you may not have read the emails in detail, but he sent me an email that said, a man who has a business card that says on purpose now on the front would not have a random red dot on the back, and yours does. Tell me about the red dot.
Yeah.
Through that email, I wouldn't have been able to say it in this language, but his curiosity was so enlivening. Rather than email, write a dissertation about the red dot, I picked up the phone right then and called him back.
Yeah.
And we had coffee the next day.
Yeah.
So when I said something earlier that if I slow it down, I said the world is not governed by the laws of fear that it made up.
Say that again one more time.
The world is not governed by the laws of fear that the world made up. It's governed by something more powerful than that. And that will vanish or cut through, dissolve fear. And so I would use the example of your gift of curiosity. You just give it, and then it leads places. It goes places.
Yeah, and it has a lot of wonderful results. I mean, a number of people I care very deeply about have worked with you, have gone to whole different places in their lives, their career, their relationships. I gave them the gift. I'll take some credit for it. So probably cut this off in an hour. You guys, of course, can drop off whenever you want. If you have more questions, please type them in. If you'd like to run your purpose and your fear as you currently view it by mic, go ahead and type it in. We're going to ask the question. The next question I'll ask you is... Yeah.
Let me interject for a minute.
Yeah.
There's no question out of bounds either. Any question about living on purpose or how to get there is in bounds here.
Thank you. So the next question I'm going to ask you is how can someone find their purpose? Before I do, I want to plug and say that one answer is I'm going to send you an email after this. It'll have the link to the recording. Feel free to share it with your friends. I think this is honestly knowledge and information that I want everybody to have, right? My quality of life has improved ridiculously in the last 12 months, and all I want to do is keep sharing that, right? I didn't have a sucky quality life before that. I had a pretty damn good life, and
Good life.
I just I didn't think it could be better. So the thing we're going to do is what I'm just calling a on purpose, discover your purpose masterclass. So you'll get it in the email. You have the recording. You have a link to sign up for it. We're going to charge $150, I think, something like that. It's 3 sessions, pretty small investment. The idea is we're going to meet for an hour over 3 weeks. Mike will give you some specific content and some very specific homework assignments to help you walk away with, this is my purpose, this is how I can use it, and have a very clear view of that. And that might inspire you to do some additional work with him, or it might just be enough to get you going. So we wanted to create something that was actionable, that everybody could use and get even more value than this conversation. So you'll get that email later. I don't see any additional questions here. Many thanks are showing up, which is nice. So other than spending $150 their hard-earned money and hanging out with us for a couple weeks, how does one go find their purpose? How does one go discover their purpose?
Start with a simple question. Do you want to live on purpose?
So step one to finding a purpose is asking if you want to.
Do you want to live on purpose?
Why would somebody say no? Who would say no to that?
If your answer is no, get some potato chips and some nacho cheese Doritos and some black jelly beans.
Why would somebody say no
and
to
indulge?
that?
I haven't had anyone say no to me directly, but
but their actions sometimes are.
It's a worthwhile question. It's a question I yesterday set a new goal to make sure I ask that question a dozen times every day. Ask myself that question. Do I want to live on purpose? Because when I say yes, something happens in this mind. I'm no longer a victim to circumstances, but I've transferred myself into the field of purpose by choice. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, do I know my purpose?
Right.
The third question to ask is, if I had a purpose that inspired me, what would it be? If you know your purpose, just keep working with it.
Yeah.
Keep working with it. Most people in our society have seen a movie called Braveheart.
Yep.
That man had his gift, his purpose, and his vision all aligned. Freedom, freedom, and freedom.
Yeah.
And he freed Scotland, or took a lot of groundwork.
Yeah.
So,
do you tend to ask people why? If they say yes, I want to live on purpose, do you say, well, why do you want to live on purpose?
No, that doesn't matter to me.
Why not?
I don't care why.
Yeah.
I'm in the business of helping people discover and live their lives on purpose. Yeah.
So you don't need.
It's all. You know what? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be arrogant with the question.
No,
the answer's already there by the time that question comes up. You can see why they're not happy. They've done the things to succeed in our society, and they're still empty on the inside.
Yeah.
Or they're facing a horrific problem that they have no way of knowing how to get through. So it's why is almost always obvious by the time.
One of the things I find, and this is mostly from driving other people to you, right, and encouraging them to have a
and seeing some come back.
Yeah, and seeing some say, oh no, I'm good. Is you either want to live on purpose or you don't. If you don't, chances are, at least in my experience, it's because they are living in a state of acceptance about the way things are today, whatever it is. So they could say, I'm not happy. Generally, they don't say I'm miserable. They say, I'm good and bad. That's how life is. That's how things are. To me, it's the status quo. It's acceptance of, well, that's just it. I mean, a year ago, I thought spending 15-20% of my life in the zone, really motivated, really passionate, was pretty good.
Yeah, really good.
I was in the upper end. These days, it's like 85-90%. I like that way better. It never seemed to be a problem.
I don't think anyone's ever said no. I don't think anyone in front of me has ever said no.
No, they may have said no, but then they go away and
they go away. I mean,
say,
they're acted
busy,
out.
I don't have money. It's nice outside. I want to go skiing. The dog, whatever.
Right.
So that's a no. That's I want to live on purpose, and then I do things to keep me from living on purpose. Right. So I think they say no all the time.
Well, I would say that well, let me go back to one of our earlier conversations. I think maybe the second time we met.
Yeah.
My resistance here is answering the question of asking why. I don't ask why.
Yeah.
And the
It's
reason,
just 'cause you don't.
the reason I could say I don't because I don't,
Yeah.
but there really is a reason why. Why don't you ask why? The ego thought system is designed. It's pathological. It's designed to search out and discover a series of causes and effects.
Right.
And to live purposefully, there are times that we have to stifle cause and effect and work with conditions. If you and I were going sailing, and we wanted to sail generally north, and we woke up in the morning and the wind was out of the north, we would either sail like this, but we wouldn't sit and bitch about why does that wind come out of the north?
Right.
There's the wind blowing out of the north. God did it. He doesn't want us to sail there.
Yeah.
The universe is against us. The super subconscious is blowing in our face. Right?
Yeah.
We would either sail left and right
We'd
and
attack or
toward the
we'd go
wind.
home.
We would set a new destination or we'd dry dock.
Yeah.
So it becomes an endless exploration of the ego to discover why. Why do I live on purpose? Because I like it.
Yeah. I was hoping you'd bring up conditions, the concept of conditions. Yeah. That was,
So part of the power.
that was actually our first conversation you brought
Was it?
up. Yeah.
Part of the power of living on purpose is you learn to deal with conditions. I don't know why my son killed 80,000 virtual soldiers on Xbox. I don't know why. He likes it. But I know that when he does that addictively and doesn't take care of the other parts of his life doesn't go well.
Yeah.
It's a condition for me to deal with.
Yeah.
He likes it.
Yeah. It's good stuff. Maybe this will be our last question.
Okay.
So, what I think about in my coaching, which is very different than yours, it's much more practical, tactical, I wouldn't say more practical, but very tactical stuff. I always fear that after I'm sharing stuff with an audience, it's like I'm giving them a sharp knife, like a tool, and they're going to go stab themselves and screw it up, right?
Right.
So if I somehow didn't teach them the right way, it's going to be worse than before. So my question is really, and I really hope that people will leave this conversation, at least for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, think about, gosh, what's my purpose?
Yeah.
How would I live on purpose? What if they get it wrong? What if they say, well, I wrote it down and it's just the wrong purpose and they screwed up this exercise? They're going to go down the kind of dark path and join a cult and abandon their families, or what's the worst that's going to happen? Can you screw up creating your purpose?
No.
Okay,
You can't get it wrong.
that's a strong statement. Why not?
You can't get it wrong. If you have looked at and designed your purpose on purpose,
Yeah.
you can't get it wrong.
Hmm.
You can judge it. You
Sure.
can judge yourself for how it went.
Right.
Right? You can judge that this must have been the wrong purpose because the wind was blowing out of the north. Why was the wind blowing out of the north? Because God was against me and my purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't get your purpose wrong.
Yeah. Interesting. So, any effort spent on defining your purpose and declaring it is worth it, right?
I think it's worth it.
And at least give that a shot. And it sort of makes intuitive sense as well, because ultimately, if your purpose is already there within you, you're discovering it. You're not creating it.
Yeah.
And sometimes discovery, is multiple layers. You'll start
It
with
is.
one thing, and then as you work with that, it'll kind of reveal a little more and more.
I see no ceiling. I see no end to, no cap on the ability in these conditions to be more trusting of my ability to live on purpose, to trust that it'll lead me where I need to go. To trust, I'm either trusting fear or I'm trusting purpose.
Yeah, very good. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed spending an hour with us. We're right at an hour, so I feel very proud of that. Like I said, you'll get an email in just a few as soon as I get the video uploaded. So you have this, to look over or share, what have you. Also, in that invite will be a link if you want to sign up for the Discover Your Purpose Masterclass. I hope some folks will join it. That could be a lot of fun. Thanks again. Thank you, Mike, for coming and meeting some of the folks in my neighborhood and sharing some of the fun stuff we've been doing over the
Thanks
last
for having
year.
me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, appreciate it.